everyone. So I am doing a little video on something that I'm really passionate about actually, and something that I've done quite a lot of research on over the last few days. And so it started with the question of how do we measure health? And then it kind of snowballed into this whole big thing, and I went down a big old rabbit hole, and here we are. I've got notes aplenty. So if I look down, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I quote things correctly and that I give the right numbers and statistics and everything. Most of the statistics and things that I'm giving refer to Scotland because that's where I live, although there are other reports and things like that. I also tried to make sure, Maggie might also feature, this is Maggie. I also tried to make sure that I use sort of credible sources, so like the NHS website, medical journals, things like that, not bloggers and things. So I started off with how do we measure health, because from what I gather, most people measure their health on their weight. If they lose weight, then that means they're getting healthier, and I disagree with that. So I looked up 6 positive lifestyle factors that promote good health, and number 1 on the list is regular and adequate amounts of sleep. So that's the number 1 thing that can promote good health, is actually making sure you get a good night's sleep. Number 2 was regular, well-balanced meals. Number 3 was regular physical activity. And number 4 was maintaining a healthy body weight. So healthy body weight doesn't actually come into it until number 4. So there are 3 things you can do before you need to even think about your weight. And then after that, it's about smoking and drinking. So I thought, that's quite interesting. What is health? What we use the word healthy, what does that mean? Health refers to a state of complete emotional and physical well-being. And I think quite often we forget about the emotional part. Betsy likes to look out the window and shout at people. Betsy! Betsy! She might also join us in the video. Betsy! Betsy! So we quite often forget about the emotional well-being. Betsy! It drives me insane. You okay? Cool. So we quite often forget about the emotional well-being. We only focus on physical, but emotional well-being is really, really, really important. So factors for good health include genetics, the environment, relationships, and education. So quite a lot of poor health is actually related to socioeconomic factors. Things like where you were born, poverty, all these things can actually impact your health. So looking at that, I decided to take a sort of comparative look at mental health and obesity, because a lot of people, and myself included, before I sort of educated myself, spoke about how it doesn't matter if you're fat as long as you're healthy, right? I don't care if you're overweight as long as you're healthy. And I've kind of realised that it's none of my business whether someone's healthy or not, and weight is not a factor in health. I follow quite a few people who are larger than me and who have much better diets than me and who exercise more than me and are probably healthier than me. So my weight has nothing to do with how healthy I am. Anyway, I looked up a government report, and it's the SPICE report, S-P-I-C-E. And there's 2 reports that I looked at that are done by the same group of people, SPICE, on severe mental illness and on obesity. So, people with severe mental illness have a greater risk of poor mental health and higher premature mortality rate. So if you have a severe mental illness, so a mental illness that impacts your daily life, there's a higher mortality rate linked to that. How high, you might ask? Well, 15 to 20 years earlier than the general population. So if you have a severe mental illness, you could die 15 to 20 years earlier than the general population. Now, I did wonder if that was linked to suicide, because obviously poor mental health does link quite closely to suicide, but no. 2 out of 3 of these deaths are from physical illnesses that could be prevented, such as liver disease, respiratory disease, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. So 2 out of 3 of these deaths are from physical illnesses that could be prevented. So I thought, that's interesting. I I think, personally, I'm a big mental health advocate. I don't know if you can read my top. It might be backwards. It says mental health is just as important as physical health. And I firmly, firmly believe that. So, how much money does mental health cost the NHS every year? In Scotland, £10.7 billion is spent on mental health, which is a humongous number. So I decided to compare that to obesity because lots of people, rightly or wrongly, talk about how obesity is a big drain on the NHS, and if all these people would just stop eating, then we would have a lot more money that we could spend on other more important things. That's not my words, that's other people's words. I'd like to put that out there. So how much does obesity cost the NHS? It costs the NHS £4.6 billion. So again, that is a very large number, but it is less than half what we spend on mental health. So if we want to make NHS savings, we really need to start talking about people's mental health and how we can support people better. Obviously, there will always be money that needs to be spent in that area, medication, therapy, all these sorts of things. I do not for a minute think that mental health funding needs to be cut. Not at all. If anything, it should be, there should be more. But let's not focus on the really obvious of obesity. Well, if they just stop eating, then that'll save all that money. Quite often, poor mental health and poor health and weight are linked. But also, we just need to tackle mental health better as a society. You know, I think if people got more support in society, they maybe wouldn't feel the need to go to therapy and things like that. I think for some people that doesn't matter, and they will always need therapy and they will always need medication, but we just need to get better as a society at dealing with our mental health, about talking about it, about employers being more open about it. Just everybody being more open about mental health, I think, would be a really positive thing. So, what is the mortality rate for obesity? If you're a class 1 obese, which I believe is a BMI of 25 to 35, but I can't 100% remember, then you can take 2 to 4 years off your life. If you are class 2 obese, which is, I believe, 35 and above, then 8 to 10 years can be taken off of your life, which again is not good. Nobody wants time taken off their life, but if we remember, severe mental health problems, it is 15 to 20 years can be taken off your life. So again, a huge difference between the problem of obesity and the problem of mental health in Scotland anyway. I'm not comparing this to any other country and how they deal with things and the obesity problems in other countries. I'm only looking really at Scotland with these numbers. So I'm going to flip over now. And so that led me on to sort of yo-yo dieting and weight cycling and dieting, putting on the weight again, dieting, blah, 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 blah. And so the first thing I looked at was some medical papers on to whether dieting is beneficial. Is it good for us? So first of all, dieting messes with the hormone leptin, which helps you feel full. So when you feel full, your body releases this hormone. It lets you know that you don't need to eat anymore. When you diet, this gets mixed up and your body thinks that you're starving. It makes you feel hungry. That's why you obsess over food when you're on a diet quite often, because your body is physically telling you that it needs food. So I've noticed a lot of people recently on social media advocating things like 30-day cleanses, detox diets, sort of booster diets to sort of kickstart a diet, and I'm so not down with that. I mean, each to their own, but personally it's just not my thing. So statistically, any weight loss that you have, you will regain 30 to 65% of that within a year. And quick dieting, things like this, it leads to muscle loss as well as fat loss. Obviously, you're losing it from everywhere, fat and muscle. However, fat is more easily put back on again. So when you stop that diet, you are more likely to regain that as fat because it's just easier. Your body puts on fat quicker than muscle. I found this really good quote that I liked that said, short-term thinking prevents long-term lifestyle changes. So if you think a quick fix is going to make everything better and you're going to lose all the weight and everything's going to be hunky-dory, that's preventing you from making some maybe long-term lifestyle changes, if that is what you want to make. Not everybody does, and that is totally cool. So I then went down a really bad MLM rabbit hole. I started looking up these diet products. When I use the word diet, incidentally, I refer to traditional dieting, clean eating, healthy eating, any product that has weight loss as part of its benefit. A lot of these masquerade themselves as being healthy, but if they mention weight loss at any point, that's what I'm referring to. Even if that's not what they're being promoted as, that's what I'm referring to. So I looked up the same product from different companies, and it was like a powder that you would add to water or milk. So prices, I was quite curious to look at prices. So quite a lot of these MLMs are selling these things, saying, you know, sign up for this program, you'll lose X amount of weight, you'll feel much better, and we'll kickstart your healthy journey. But obviously they want your money. I'll get onto that in a minute. But I looked at 3 different companies, and the cheapest one was £30 for 30 days. And then it went up to £40 for 30 days. And the most expensive one I looked at was £64 for 30 days. Now, these were just products you can get in Scotland. In America, I know there are much more MLMs available. But £64 for 30 days is a lot of money when we think back to how people with poorer health or from poorer backgrounds, you want them to spend £64 for 30 days. You know, and I've seen the tactic of, well, your health